Welcome to the cityCURRENT radio show. I'm Andrew Bartolotta, Director of Digital Media here at cityCURRENT. And today we are talking about Room in the Inn Memphis, where they are sheltering those experiencing homelessness in a safe environment of hospitality. Their Director of Programming, Whitney Brown, joins us today to share more. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Whitney, can you tell us more about your mission and history at Room in the Inn Memphis?
Sure. So, like you said, Room in the Inn shelters people experiencing homelessness in a safe environment of hospitality. And we've been doing that here in Memphis for 11 years now. Our organization is modeled after the original and very successful Room in the Inn program in Nashville, which started over 30 years ago. And our executive director, Lisa Anderson, and her congregation at Colonial Cumberland Presbyterian Church started the program here as kind of an outreach ministry of their small congregation by welcoming a few people in need of shelter into their church building for a community meal and a safe space to sleep in the winter. And from that holy hospitality, the program has grown to over 50 congregations throughout Memphis, spanning 15 denominations, 2 faith traditions, including some nonprofits, throughout the greater Memphis area who are offering that same hospitality every winter. And basically for a congregation, that looks like you sign up with us for once a week or once or twice a month, and you open your doors and you provide volunteers, and your volunteers host our guests that evening, a small group of 12 to 15 people in your facility, providing a meal, providing a safe place to sleep, and transportation to and from our campus.
I love the term holy hospitality. That's so great. And it really exemplifies the collective impact of the different congregations across the Mid-South that are coming together to work with you to really provide this this hospitality to those who need it most. Now, you've recently sort of moved Room in the Inn Memphis to the historic Collins Chapel Hospital campus. So you've also had more room to open the Recuperative Care Center and the Family Inn. Can you talk more about that?
Absolutely. I'm so excited to share this with you. It's still very new. We're just opening this spring. And so the congregational shelter program I just shared with you has been our core ministry for those 11 years and will continue to be a core program for us every winter. And we hope to start it back up this November as long as COVID-19 cooperates and goes away or is manageable. And in addition to that longtime program, we've added 2 new programs in our new home at 409 Ayers Street, which has a rich history, as you said, in Memphis as the historic Collins Chapel Hospital campus. So we're thrilled to partner with the CME Church by leasing this property and continuing that legacy of hospitality and healing in this place. So along with our offices and daily operations, the new Room in the Inn campus here will house 2 new programs, our Recuperative Care Center and the Family Inn. So the Recuperative Care Center will host 21 guests when it's at full capacity, and these guests come as referrals from area hospitals when they're discharging patients who have no home, no shelter. So they're discharging people who don't need medical care. We don't have medical staff, but these are people just like you and me who still need some time to recover after an illness or injury. And so they'll be discharged to us and have a place not just for shelter, but for that holy hospitality like we talked about, that same sense of welcome and belonging here. As well as staff and case managers working with them to connect them to other resources to make sure they have ongoing primary care, just making those connections with them, advocating for them, and our goal being to move them from recuperative care and into housing, into a more sustainable housing solution when they leave here, so that they're not just back on the street after they recover and then probably back in the hospital and back to us. So we want it to be a sustainable solution that leads to housing and leads to overall health and healing. And then on our second floor, we'll have the Family Inn. And when it's fully at full capacity, it'll have 14 families staying with us. Those families come to us through MIFA referrals. And so while they're going through the rapid rehousing process with MIFA, so they've lost their housing or somehow found themselves without shelter, and the goal is to get them back into sustainable housing as quickly as possible. But our staff will have not just shelter and hospitality for them here, but again, staff advocating for them, helping them work through the difficult systems that are in place to navigate getting into housing, but also keeping that housing once they have it. So all of our guests will have the opportunity to attend classes like financial planning, life skills, art, creativity. The recuperative care guests will have students and professors coming to do physical therapy, occupational therapy with them. So we're just really excited about all of the opportunities this new space has opened up for us.
Yeah, that's great. You're really able to expand your services and really holistically help those who need it most. Now, you discussed a little bit about COVID-19, and I can imagine being a very in-person organization, the pandemic has impacted your the community you serve as well as your organization as a whole to a large extent. Can you tell us about that and maybe some of the ways that you're mitigating that impact?
Absolutely. The past year has been a wild ride. I know that's true for everyone. As you said, our guests are impacted. They are, many of them have health issues or in that vulnerable age range. So all of our guests were highly vulnerable. And our program runs on volunteer power. And many of our volunteers were in those vulnerable populations as well. And so when COVID hit, we had to really reimagine how we could provide holy hospitality and how can we provide shelter in a way that is safe, because safety is part of what we do, and making not just a roof over the head, but a safe and hospitable place for people to stay. And so with COVID, it was not a good idea for us to be sending different groups of people to different congregations with different volunteers every night, in and out, and everybody out and about during the day and then back at night. And so we had to, suspend our congregational shelter model during COVID. But we continued providing shelter through hotel rooms for our guests throughout the winter, throughout the pandemic. So we've been doing it that way, and our volunteers still wanted to find safe ways to help because that's what they do. And so they helped by contributing to help us cover those hotel stays. They helped by immediately, as soon as we had to close last year's season a couple of weeks early because of COVID, the city and the hospitality hub opened an emergency shelter for women. And our volunteers immediately went into gear and offered meals, prepared meals, 3 meals a day for that shelter. So whereas they would have been preparing meals at their own congregations, they prepared them safely at home or had them catered and did a curbside drop off at the emergency shelter to help cover those meals. And then our staff later in the summer, when the heat kicked in, the staff opened a day center, just a drop-in center that had some COVID guidelines in place to help keep everybody safe, but to give our guests a safe and just relieving place out of the heat in those summer afternoons. And so we were able to do that, socially distanced and masked and all of that. So it's been a year of lots of pivots and changes. And then at the same time, the pandemic has really put a spotlight on our community, and that's what made way for CARES Act funding in the city and county to partner with us and the CME Church to get this new campus opened and to get these. We piloted the recuperative care and family in programs during COVID, and so at the same time of all the chaos of COVID-19, it also opened the door for us to do this work and have this expansion and to do more in the year ahead. So it's been a wild ride for sure.
Yeah, and even though it's been so challenging, I love the way that your organization has been able to triumph and push through and really think about, your mission in a different way to where you can help those who need it most in our community. Speaking of, what puts a smile on your face when you look at the impact Room in the Inn Memphis has on the community?
I think for me, it's seeing the impact this vision of holy hospitality has both on guests and on volunteers. Seeing hearts and lives changed on both ends of those relationships. That it's not just about people coming and helping the needy or meeting a need, doing something good. It's not just a giving and receiving relationship. It's about creating this sense of community and love for our neighbor. And, the core of that has always happened over a meal and through real conversations. And that's what we mean when we say holy hospitality, is that it's this reciprocal relationship and not just a hand, but just, so that's what really hits me, is seeing that come to life on, like, throughout our community, from guests, from volunteers, from staff. That's what does it for me.
It's really like the heart work of collaboration between those different denominations, but also you mentioned MIFA and Hospitality Hub in the city. And when you're working together, you're really able to see the impact that you're able to make on these families and individuals that are just trying to survive, and being that safe place for them is such a great thing that you're able to offer. Now, we touched a little bit about volunteerism. What are some ways that the community can get involved, either through their workplace or through individual volunteerism?
With our new facility, we are going to be operating 24/7, 365 days a year. So that means there are volunteer opportunities all the time. And we do have on-site and virtual opportunities. You can volunteer on your own, with your family, or with a group. And we also have individuals and companies who support us financially, and some directly through their workplace, and lots of other ways to give that way. And so we have information on donating and volunteering, and all of our current volunteer opportunities can be found on our website, which is ritimemphis.org. And so, yeah, we have anything you can think of doing. We have space now to welcome people to do it. So creative classes, helping us keep the facility clean, providing a meal, just spending time with our guests. It's all valuable, and we love volunteers. Like I said, we are volunteer powered. We can't do this without you.
Now, speaking of volunteerism, Room in the Inn Memphis is partnering with Volunteer Odyssey for their second annual Virtual Volunteer Day, which is coming up Friday, April 23rd. Can you share with our audience how they can make a difference from a distance with y'all that day?
Absolutely. So for Virtual Volunteer Day, we'll be asking people to create a video and then share that video with us via email, or you can put it in a Dropbox, whatever you want to do. And then we will share those videos with our guests. So we have 3 options for Virtual Volunteer Day. You can make a video showing how to complete a simple arts and crafts project, and a family can do that together. The children can do it on their own. However you want to set that up, and just make sure you include in making the video a list of supplies that will be needed. So just a little tutorial on a simple arts and craft project. The second option is to read a children's book on video, like showing the pages and reading the book. And the third option is for the musicians out there, if they want to record a song on video, and you don't have to be a professional, you can play the kazoo, ukulele, whatever you got. We'd love to see it. And then we'll have those videos on our YouTube channel, and we'll be able to share them through the projector and everything, to share them with our families during just kind of chill times, activity times around here. So if we don't have a volunteer on site to lead arts and crafts time, we can pull up one of those videos, and the guests can create together.
Whitney, can you talk to us about a impact story that really sets apart why the mission of Room in the Inn Memphis is so important for our community?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite things to do, I was a volunteer with Room in the Inn before I was staff, and part of what I love to do when I'm not busy with the work is to create art with the guests. And so one of the most impactful things to me has been creating art with a guest who had previously not spoken much at all. She'd give her name when she signed in, let us know if she needed something, but otherwise didn't speak to the staff or the volunteers or any of the other guests, and just really kept to herself. And after opening up just some open studio time just with supplies to create, she not only created this like beautiful art and was really doing extra things, not just sitting at the table. Like she would go and find things with textures and make rubbings, and exploring with materials that I hadn't specifically set out for the day. And so I was just seeing this whole different side of her through that. And then after a couple of times of creating art together, she started smiling and she started talking, and really just became more engaged with the staff, with the other guests, with the volunteers, after having that space to express herself. And so that's been, for me, as a creative person, one of the most impactful things that I've seen, and one of the things I think I'll always carry with me, is seeing that transformation in her, just from having space and time to create and to do something that was just for her. That it's not just about shelter, and it's not just about handing out food or clothes. It's about creating this space of hospitality where people can connect with themselves and with one another, and with God. And that's been one of the most beautiful things that I've seen in my time with Room in the Inn.
I love that. That's powerful. Whitney, one more time, can you share with our listeners where they can learn more about Room in the Inn Memphis and get information about volunteering or donating to your organization?
Yes, you can find us online at ritimemphis.org, and same on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at RITI Memphis. Thank you.
Whitney, thank you for coming on the show today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much.